My name's Kai, I'm sick, I'm confused about my life, and welcome to my worst fear. For those who maybe haven't seen any of my previous wrist surgery videos, short little recap is that I had a chunk of my bone taken out in ulnar ostomy surgery, and then I had a hardware removal surgery, which was 2 surgeries, and then I had my TFCC repaired in the ulnar ostomy surgery, and then I had an ECU stabilization sheath repair surgery because I had another tendon that was messed up. So suffice to say, this arm is very expensive, it has been through a lot, and I've done a lot of work to make it a functional arm for the first time since I was 16. I know I don't look it, but I am actually 24, almost 25. I just have a baby face. Also, you guys are gonna have to forgive the hair and lack of makeup. I cannot be bothered to care right now. So, story time. Let me set the scene for you. I love ice skating more than anything else in the entire world, and I have a group of friends now who were all willing to go ice skating with me, but they've never been. So I took 3 other people ice skating with me who had maybe been 2 or 3 times. None of them were very good, so I just took on the task of teaching 3 people ice skating at one time. Great idea. Luckily, one of the 3 got the hang of it pretty quickly, so he took one of the other ones to, he was teaching her, they were having a good time, and then me and the other friend were left. So we were kind of in two pairs, and I was keeping my eye on the other 2 the whole time. Every time they fell, I checked in with them, made sure they were okay, all of the good stuff. So I've been keeping my eye on them when I saw somebody else fall, and he didn't get up. So I start ice skating really fast to him, and then he starts seizing. So I really am taking off, and I'm gonna be totally for real with you. The memory I have between taking off from the other side of the ice skating rink and getting to him, a little spotty. I do remember everybody else backing away from him, me being really angry, and then I guess as I was trying to stop, my ice skate caught. I'm not really sure, but I was on the floor, landed on my arm. The only thought I remember having was not my expensive arm, and then got right to his side and proceeded to put my good hand underneath his head, making sure his head wasn't hitting the ice because it had been. And I saw him hit his head when he fell. So more than likely, I knew he already had a concussion, and I just wanted to make sure he didn't get any more brain damage from hitting his head on the ice repeatedly, because ice is unforgiving. I'm glad I rushed over to take over the scene because, like I said, everybody else had been backing up. Nobody knew what to do, so I was able to give instructions to everybody, take hold of the situation, get somebody to call 911, find his friend. He'd had seizures before, so this wasn't new. He'd been doing pretty good recently, and I think what had happened was when he fell and hit his head, it triggered a seizure. But we got EMS there, and by the time he stopped seizing, he stopped seizing before EMS got there, but by the time he stopped seizing, I paused, I made sure he was doing okay. Well, he wasn't conscious, but I made sure he was settled, and then I kind of pulled my hand back, and I looked at my arm for the first time. And if you were squeamish, look away right now, because it is gnarly. So I pulled my sleeve back, I pulled my mitten back, and yeah, this was what I saw, and I was just like, oh, dear Lord. Okay, you guys can look again, I've stopped showing it. Yeah, so I turned to the person on the phone with 911 and I went, I broke my hand. She goes, what? I went, yeah, my hand is broken. And so she tells them that. They end up with a second ambulance coming. I'm still trying to talk to the people who were there, mall security was there at this point, the ice skating staff was there were a few other people there, you know, a few other things. And then my roommate was kind of still behind me. She was like, do you want me to get off the ice? Do you want me to stay? I was like, please stay, so in case I pass out. And by the time everybody had instructions, it was fine. The world started ringing and spinning, and I was just like, oh no. So I turned to my roommate and go, I'm gonna pass out now, I think. And she's like, what? And there was an ice skating rink member there who was like, should we get you off the ice? And I was like, yes, please. Okay, I have a task. The world came into focus again. And then I was like, well, I can't move my arm. So I looked around really quickly. One of the staff members had a clipboard. I was like, can I borrow your clipboard? They gave it to me. So I just kind of moved my arm onto the clipboard. I stood up by myself with the clipboard because if anybody touched me, I figured it was just going to be So much worse, pain-wise. So I stood up by myself on my ice skates, my arm on my clipboard, and I just skated myself off the rink. Probably one of the most graceful things I've ever managed to do in my life, and I'm really glad of it because everybody who had been on the rink was off the rink watching this. Yay. So I was just like, I'm the star of the show now, I better act like it. Nobody was giving up their seats for me, so I did have to yell at somebody to get up, which was fine. I was like, listen, if you guys want to stand there and look at my arm, be my guest. But EMS came, they put my arm in a splint. They were all lots of jokes, which were very good because I was kind of the mindset that if I wasn't joking, I was gonna cry. Declined the ambulance. We drove ourselves to the hospital. When we got there, okay, if you're squeamish, close your eyes again. I'm gonna show my arm. This was what my arm looked like by the time we got to the hospital, which was gnarly, and I almost threw up looking at it. Not great at all. But it's fine. If you were squeamish, you can look back. I've stopped showing it again. Yeah, essentially what happened was I shattered my bone, but it all was in the same place. Like nothing, no bones went anywhere. It was all there. And luckily it was my radius, not my ulnar, which is the bone I've had a bunch of surgeries on. So it was my radius that I broke, and then my arm was in my hand, is what he described it. I don't know if there's a proper medical term for this. He just went, yep, your whole arm went into your hand. Your bones are on top of your hand bones. And I went, oh. So luckily at the ER, they pulled my arm out of my hand, which was an experience I would never, ever, ever, ever like to repeat again. Honestly, the whole experience of having your arm in your hand. I'd give it 1 out of 10 stars. I won't give it 0 because at least this was a kind of entertaining night, so 1 out of 10, but really wouldn't recommend it. They gave me this beautiful splint that covers my fingers and my thumb and my elbow, so my arm is like completely immobile and incompetent at the current moment, which was the point, I suppose, but is rather frustrating. And they kind of sent me on my way. They said, see a hand surgeon ASAP. We don't have to do immediate surgery on it because, there's no bone sticking out or cutting anything or doing weird things. Like, we just had to get your arm in the right place and it looks good now. So go see a hand surgeon ASAP. We can't tell you anything else. I was like, okay. And somehow I managed to get an appointment with my hand surgeon because they did give me a referral, but my arm's complicated. I'm complicated. And if you don't know that, go check out my channel because I am a complicated patient. So I was like, I'm gonna go see my hand surgeon who has seen the inside of my hand before and knows what it looks like. Luckily, they had an appointment the next day and I was able to come in and they were like, okay, I gave them the x-rays, they came back in, and the first thing they pretty much said to me was, okay, surgery tomorrow? And I went, oh, it's that bad. Oh no. Unfortunately, the surgeon was out of town for a funeral and not doing any surgeries the next day, so I had to wait a week. So surgery will be on Tuesday. Today is Sunday, which I was like, no, that's fine. That gives me time to prepare. I'm bored and eating everything within sight at this point. I'm like a labradoodle or a husky. You leave me alone too long and I start eating things. I'm going insane. Fine, it's besides the point. We also have a massive winter storm happening right now, so everything is shut down. So I can't even go hang out with people or something. It's fine. My life is great. So essentially, all that they said they need to do in surgery, because they're pretty sure that there is no soft tissue damage, is that potentially they're going to check to see how my carpal tunnel is doing. Because of the way I fell and landed on it, they're a little worried that it's going to cause me issues in the long run, so they just want to take a look at it. If they do, they'll have to make a separate incision to take care of that, but they just want to get it set correctly and get some plates on the bone so the bone heals correctly. And that essentially they told me if I don't do the whole surgery, my arm can end up in my hand again. And so I was like, yes, please sign me up for surgery as soon as possible, thank you. I never want my arm in my hand again, for physical purposes, but also mentally. That was more disturbing than I would ever admit. No. So on Tuesday, I'm gonna go in. They're going to cut open my arm on the other side because I have 3 incisions on this side. They're gonna go on this side, and then if they end up having to do the carpal tunnel, they'll go on here. I have 2 incisions back here, so if they do have to do carpal tunnel, I'm going to have incisions and scars on every single side of my wrist. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't cry the entire day I was at the hospital. I did not cry when I broke my wrist. I did not cry when they were resetting it. The only time I cried during this whole process was when they told me that I could have incisions on all 4 sides of my wrist. And that, for whatever reason, sent me. I was like, no, not my wrist. I'm gonna look like I got my arm stuck in something. So that deeply upset me, apparently. But yes, they'll go in. In theory, it shouldn't be a long surgery, so we should only be in there for a few hours, like total at the surgery center. I think they said like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to get everything done, which I'm skeptical of, but I'm not the surgeon, so I don't know. But yeah, they should go in, fix everything up. Hopefully this doesn't cause any lasting damage. I don't know. Suffice to say, my greatest fear was injuring this wrist because I've had so much work done to it. So at this point, I have no idea how this is going to play out. I don't think anyone else knows how this is going to play out because I have connective tissue disorder. I've had 3 separate surgeries done on this arm, and now I'm having a 4th because I broke my arm and I had my arm in my hand. So yeah, there's no guidebook for me for this situation. We have no idea. We are just going to hope. Yes, I will probably make a separate video with surgery and recovery, but I just wanted to give you guys an update about what happened and how my greatest fear in life came true, and we have no idea how it's going to play out still. Currently, I'm off of work until surgery and surgery swelling goes down. Hopefully they'll put me in a cast afterwards so I can go back to work pretty quickly. I don't really know. We're just gonna have to see. At this point, I've just accepted that this is my life. There's nothing I can do about it besides wait and see and try not to be super anxious about it. Clearly that's going great. But yeah, I will stop yapping. If you want to see how this plays out and you are anxious to see, as I am, how my wrist does after this, make sure you don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next update. If you enjoyed that, check out my previous wrist videos or any of my other surgeries, and hopefully, fingers crossed, my next surgery, my next video, and the next surgery, both of them, have a happy ending. As always, much love. Bye!